Professional wrestling is the one true sport. Other sports have their share of intense, dramatic moments, but nothing can compare with professional wrestling. Welcome to Wrestling History X, where three friends come together to talk about the stories behind the matches. I'm Matt.
I'm volatile, baby.
And I am the Nashane Villian.
Welcome to episode 177, Starrcade 1995, the World Cup of Wrestling.
USA's toughest meet Japan's best
In this International Wrestling Showdown.
Ooh, what are we gonna get, guys?
I was immediately hyped because I don't remember if you told me this was going to be a tournament show.
I purposely did not tell you.
I appreciate you doing that.
As you were saying that, I'm like, I don't remember if you did or not.
Yeah, I was like,
you say that.
sometimes you let us in.
I literally thought about telling you that, but then I was like,
He'll be so happy to just not know.
Just gonna leave it alone. Let you find out on your own.
When I clicked the Peacock app opened and clicked on Starrcade 1995, what I do is I find the show and I open Wikipedia just to get the, where was the show, tagline, how many people were there, and go back over to Peacock and hit play. And when I saw that it was a World Cup of Wrestling, I did one of these. So when you pull the elbow down, you go, yes.
I mean, I had a similar, but mine was more of a...
No, I was excited.
I mean, it could be really good, or they could just be really bad.
They did do a tag tournament with different countries at one point.
That sucked mad butt.
You know when that took place? Wasn't that a Starrcade?
It was a Starrcade.
Yeah, but this is single matches. These are guys from New Japan, and I love a one-night tournament. So I had even a mediocre one-night tournament is better than a lot of WCW shows, and. Spoiler alert, Hogan's not here. Hogan's not here. So the show automatically gets a fucking bump.
So this was the 13th annual Starrcade produced by WCW. It would take place on December 27th, 1995 from the Nashville Municipal Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee, with an attendance of 8,200 people.
Hey, it was more than in your house.
That's right.
Barely.
I mean, 8,000 without Hogan being there is pretty good, I think.
Oh, yeah.
That's very true.
Very true.
Very true.
So we've seen some dismal
what a day
houses.
it is when there's no Hogan.
I know. No Hogan, and we subbed him out for about 5 Japanese men.
Maybe like 7.
Yeah, how it doesn't... They could have subbed him out for just one guy that I like, and it'd be cool. But a whole gang of them?
But we're in Nashville.
We are.
So what did Shane bring us on our trip around the world?
Well, we're in Nashville. We have a Hogan-free show, so let's cheers. Yeah. Woo!
Yep. There's no hot dog water in these glasses.
No. What we have here, I love my mules. This is a Tennessee mule, which is a very, very simple drink. Matt was sitting here trying to figure it. Did you figure it out?
I was kind of wondering if it was ginger beer.
Yep.
And
pretty simple. It's 2 ounces of Jack Daniel's No. 7. It's topped with ginger beer. I can't remember the brand that I've used this one before.
It's Q.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a good-ass ginger beer. I
Yes.
like that stuff.
Then each one has like a half a lime squeezed into it with a little garnish of a lime wheel. Stirred with a little Mickey Mouse shaped bar stir.
It's spicy and limey and whiskey.
Yeah, it's
been a while since I've had a whiskey.
Pretty tasty.
It was kind of kicking the back of my throat.
Oh yeah, I got a little bit of an itch too. I haven't drank whiskey in a long time either. That was my drink of choice when I was younger and drank liquor.
Oh yeah, whiskey was whiskey or
I used to drink whiskey all the time, and then I've really gotten into mules lately, and haven't been drinking whiskey as much.
See?
So
Now you got the hybrid.
Anything's
I
a
do.
mule if you had ginger
beer.
Yeah, ginger beer.
And that's why when I was making this, I'm like, I can't remember if I made this one before or not. But, I mean, it would work. It would play into it if I did, because I was sitting here saying the same thing with the names of, we've seen all these guys before. I think I've used all these names before, so it's hard to turn a different name into a Shane when it's already
Hey, what are
happened.
people going to do? Complain? This show's free. There's no ads. We come out on time every week.
I know about it.
this week,
yeah.
just
Yeah.
kidding.
Cut to like nicotine gum or like dick hardening pills or what's a meal kit.
You know what'll get you hard?
Best
sh-
Fiends.
This show,
This show.
but some Blue Chew as well.
Yeah.
Worst read of that.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd totally
Oh, Blue Chew's
read
got
that
tons
shit
of money.
if they throw money our
Hello
way so we can
Fresh,
get on
Blue
Patreon.
Chew.
What is it? What is the
We'll-
one
we'll
for
take-
shaving your balls? Manscaped.
Manscaped.
Freshly.
We'll take all your money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just contact us.
Kratom. Give me like a. We'll start slinging kratom.
Other podcasts, if you want us to talk you up, we listen to different ones. Crime Weekly, if you're listening.
I don't know what that is. That sounds
Winter
sounds
Circle.
popular.
Yeah, see? Boom. Back to back Derek Lavoisier.
These sound
Sorry,
like
Lavasser.
big boy podcasts.
Yeah,
Big brother.
Oh, Big Brother podcasts.
we probably need them to talk us up more than they need us to talk them up.
Hey, if we can be paid to say their advertisements, it's okay.
I mean, we just did one for them for free, kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We'll tag them in it when this comes up.
There
Hey.
you go.
Hey, don't we do this for the camaraderie?
But I mean, if you're listening, Derek, Cody, Tiffany, love you. Stephanie, love you too. Sorry, I forgot I said Crime Weekly in there also. So, and she was on the winner's circle.
That's right.
All right. Anywho, see these Tennessee duels are working.
These drinks are already working because
Hey,
we're just
hey.
rambling about whatever.
Hey, is this like Tennessee talk?
I mean, on the plus side, this show will have wrestling on it.
I hope so.
It will, definitely.
We've
hope it's
we've seen some
appreciated,
shows
yes.
where we're like, was that even a wrestling show?
So I kind of had to scrape the bottom of the barrel this week for
Yeah, I saw that.
for something that happened at the same time.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's the end of the year, guys. Like,
Yeah.
nothing ever happens at the end of the year.
No, and unless there's like some news atrocity, but we try to keep it light here.
Surprise, it's 4 days before New Year's.
But one of our greatest actors of our current day and age.
I would say at least one of our most paid at the moment.
But Timothy Chalamet was born the same day as Starrcade 95.
Ooh.
I like the Cum Peach movie.
The what?
Call Me By Your
Call
Name.
Me By Your Name.
Oh.
I like.
See, I still have never watched that one.
Oh, it's great. It's a great
I think
movie.
you would like it.
It's
I mean, I
great.
figure I would. I always forget about it.
It's the only one I've seen him in that I really was like, oh, that's a really great movie.
You didn't like French Dispatch?
And I did not. And I like Wes Anderson movies.
That's probably one of my least Wes Anderson movies,
It's.
too.
I would say it's my least favorite of his,
I
right
like-
up next to I Love Dogs.
I liked Lady Bird.
Oh yeah, he's good in Lady Bird.
I
That's a
liked
good movie.
Lady Bird. I liked Little
Right.
Women.
Little Women's good too, but
I
I
still
don't even
never
think
watched
about
that
him
Little
being in the
Women.
movie. Little
And
Women's.
then I
I
love
watched.
Dune.
I was gonna say I
love
watched Dune,
so-
but it was.
I think that Dune, it's like
I think maybe
really
once-
well made, but
once Dune 2 comes out, then maybe I'll feel better about it.
you'll
but-
have an opinion.
Yeah.
He's actually the young Matthew McConaughey in Interstellar, too. Just
Oh, really?
Just so you know that.
That's cool. I
Soon
do
to
not
be
know
the
that.
young Wonka.
The
Or not the young Matthew McConaughey, the young Casey Affleck.
oh,
Okay. Did Casey get canceled officially?
Who
no,
knows?
whatever. What do I know? Manchester by the Sea. That's a tearjerker. If I've ever seen one. If that movie hasn't pulled tears out of you, I don't know what will. But you know, like you said, we scraped the bottom of the barrel. The guy's been in some good movies.
Yeah.
he's
Don't look
well
up.
paid.
It was good. It was nominated for Best Picture last year. I enjoyed it.
I have not watched Don't Look Up yet.
Really?
No. We'll do a quick.
It's got a fun take.
My recommendation for a Timmy C movie would be Call Me by Your Name. If I had to, if I'm picking, that's my favorite of the movies I've seen him in.
I mean, mine would be Dune. But
I mean,
I'm kind of with Shane on that. It's like, I need to see Dune too. I don't.
it made me want to see Dune 2.
Yeah, I think the movie looks
Which
really great.
I think is, if a movie can do that, then I think it's a successful movie.
I think
it
Dean-
makes me
yeah.
want to see the next one.
Dune was really impressive. I just couldn't. It was a really impressive thing, and they told the story really well without it being confusing, which is
I
probably
agree.
the biggest feat
Absolutely.
for that story. But at the same time, like, I didn't find it compelling, like, just generally compelling, like, emotionally compelling. It looks great. And I like old Denis Villanueva, or whatever his name is.
Denis
Villeneuve.
Huge fan of that dude.
Added an A at the end, but hey.
I would also suggest Little Women. I know he's not a huge part of the movie because it's more about the women.
Yeah, you watch that movie because Florence Pugh fucking always knocks the house down.
Exactly. But that movie was much better than it deserved to be.
Yeah, I didn't expect a whole lot, and then I was like, damn, that was good.
I mean, I liked him in Lady Bird, but I liked...
I mean, that whole movie was great.
Yeah,
Don't Look Up, I think maybe a little more than Lady Bird, just because it's one of those the world is coming to an end movies during a time where the world just sucked, and it just had kind of a fun, or not fun, but funny somewhat, but then maybe this could actually happen type outlook.
It was a little tongue-in-cheek.
Yes. Adam McKay doing what Adam McKay does.
Yep. Well, let's talk some Starrcade.
Shall we?
We see flags of different countries from around the world shown with narration. As countries across the world compete for global dominance, WCW has accepted the challenge from New Japan Pro Wrestling in a best-of-7 battle for the World Cup of Wrestling.
What the hell?
And I'm hyped.
We see a list of all the matches that are going to be happening, and Tony Schiavone welcomes us to the granddaddy of them all before introducing his commentators for the evening, Bobby the Brain Heenan and Dusty Rhodes.
I popped for Dusty.
Oh, Dusty.
They comment on the best-of-7 series before talking about our triangle match that'll happen later in the evening as well. And you might remember from the last pay-per-view that the reason for this collab was that Heenan had tried to sell part of WCW Pro to Sonny Onoo.
That's right. I forgot about
and New Japan Pro Wrestling. But the WCW Board of Directors had stepped in as the Brain had no authority to do so. But they would go on to create a compromise and would feature New Japan at one of their biggest shows of the entire year. And that's why we get this.
Yeah, we're doing a best of 7. Whatever promotion wins the most matches is kind of the idea here.
Winner take all.
Yeah, Dusty informs us that the magnitude of Starrcade is imaginable. I love his terrible understanding of words.
The magnitude is imaginable, baby.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck?
So we go to our first match. Chris Benoit versus Jushin Thunder Liger with Sonny Onoo in a World Cup matchup.
Well, hey there.
I love the new stage setup too. They got the lights, like a big triangle everybody's walking out of. It looks good.
So the two men trade holds and takedowns until a Liger dropkick and baseball slide send Chris out to the floor, followed by a somersault plancha off the apron. Back in the ring, they go into a test of strength, only for Jushin to escape with a head scissors and a kapoo kick. But Benoit answers with a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker for a 2 count. Chris goes for a powerbomb, only for Liger to counter into an arm drag takedown, followed by a belly-to-belly suplex and a dropkick that sends Benoit out to the floor.
Okay, and there's somewhere around here that I just have to say, what the fuck, Nashville? Because I was hearing boos.
I mean, they're the
Liger.
foreign heels.
I don't care. This is Liger.
I know.
He's not a foreign heel.
Look at him.
He's
He looks
Jushin
great.
fucking Thunder Liger.
Yeah, they're yelling like "Go home" and
Never
stuff.
had a heel moment in his life, I don't think.
No.
Well, that's
he-
not true.
that's not true.
He has been a heel.
Yeah, but his heel moments are pretty epic.
Damn near Ricky Steamboat babyface level.
Yeah.
Jushin looks to go flying through the ropes, but realizes that Chris has moved, so he stops in time before holding the ropes for Benoit to get back into the ring.
Cheeky.
Once back in, Chris gains the advantage with a snap suplex, a back suplex, and a clothesline before locking on a lion tamer until he releases it to get a near fall. Chops, headbutts, and a bridging German by Benoit for a 2 count. When Liger takes down Chris to apply the Romero special and a camel clutch, only for Benoit to escape with an electric chair drop. Chris then goes for a back suplex, only for Jushin to counter to land on top for a near fall, followed by Benoit going for a tombstone piledriver, which Liger reverses as well, before going up top, where Chris meets him to bring him down with a superplex. Benoit heads up top for a flying headbutt, only for Jushin to avoid and take advantage with a powerbomb and a brainbuster for a 2 count. Liger's whip attempt is reversed, allowing Chris to deliver a clothesline and a pair of rolling German suplexes, before hitting a powerbomb as well. Benoit heads up top again, coming off with the flying headbutt, when Kevin Sullivan has run down to the ring to distract Chris. And Jushin takes advantage, nailing a bad-looking Hurricanrana for the pin and the win. So New Japan Pro Wrestling leads the series 1-0.
Uh-oh. And Kevin Sullivan. So it begins, huh?
Yeah, it's funny that, like, here in WCW, this is, like, the first match on Starrcade, but in, like, Japan, this would not be
It's
the
like
first
the main
match.
event.
Yeah, this could be the main event and has been a main event. But, hey, if you're going to start, you might as well start strong with two guys that know how to work with each other.
Absolutely.
Yep.
We go to the back, Mean Gene's there with Eddie Guerrero. And Eddie doesn't like the finish of the previous match, saying Sullivan should keep his nose out of Benoit's business. Nokolin asks Guerrero to size up his matchup, responding that it's an honor to represent WCW, and he has to be on top of his game. All of a sudden, someone opens the door behind them in the middle, but it closes it once they realize that
they're shooting in
that they're shooting a promo.
Eddie is, like, nervous and not quite the promo that he will become. This is like, oh,
Agreed.
he is.
Yeah.
He's shaking in his boots. It was very weird to see him, like, that nervous and unconvinced of the words that he was saying.
Yeah, I guess live in front of millions. He hasn't really had to do that much probably in the past. I'm guessing New Japan back in the day.
It might have been
Didn't do
because
as
he was
much.
doing it in English, because he's probably
No,
only
that
done
could
it.
be
He's
too.
probably
I
only
think
done
of
it in Spanish
Yeah.
Yeah,
down in Mexico. So
maybe. Yeah.
maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean,
Also,
his
the beginning was
I mean,
great.
his
He's young.
English was great. I mean,
Yeah, he's a young guy. I don't know how. Like,
he was born in El Paso, so I'm like,
Yeah, I'm sure he
it's not
spoke.
like
Yeah, he probably.
very well versed in both. But we go to our second match: Koji Kanemoto with Sonny Onoo versus Alex Wright in a World Cup matchup.
Das Wunderkind.
So Koji, at the time, was the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. And the last time we saw Kanemoto and Alex was at Best of the Super Juniors #2, back in episode 157. So these two men start trading holds until Koji begins to work the leg of Wright, only for Alex to answer with uppercuts, a head scissors, and a drop kick, before a crossbody sends them both over the ropes.
And we get our USA chants for the guy billed from Germany.
Yeah.
Come on, guys, use your brain. Just do a WCW chant. It's WCW versus New Japan. So you chant WCW.
Come on, Tennessee.
Or just, I don't know. But USA chant. It's just too easy, right?
Yeah.
It sounds good, but it's pretty funny.
Like USA, 3-letter chant.
Mhm.
Alex Wright, same syllables.
Yeah, but most of these people probably don't remember this guy.
So our commentators would start talking about Hogan at this point, saying he wasn't there. And so the story about that is that after World War III, they had aired the footage of the end of the match on the next night's Nitro. But someone had tampered with the tape.
Uh-oh.
So Savage got to keep the title. The Dungeon of Doom would then continue to attack Hogan and Macho when the Hulkster would go ballistic, using chairs on everybody, including WCW officials. So Hogan would be suspended till the end of the year. Or as we like to say, he went to do some filming.
Oh, okay. I was going to say it was either that or it was Christmas break.
Is it the new season of Thunder? Maybe it was a Thunder in Paradise movie.
I think it's a movie, but I think it's like Mr. Nanny or something
Probably
like that.
Mr. Nanny, yeah. Or maybe it was
Santa with muscles.
the Thunder in Paradise on Ice.
Could be. Thunder in Paradise After Dark.
Because he was suspended on the Nitro before the show, which was literally 3 days earlier. So he's literally gone for an entire week.
Ooh.
That's how long he was suspended for.
End of the year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See you
It's
next
like, oh, well, we
See
don't...
you next Tuesday, Terry.
We don't have to have him mucking up a Starrcade, so I'm happy to see it.
Yeah.
Back to the match, and Wright climbs into the ring, drop-kicking Kanemoto again as he reached the apron, followed by a tope suicida as well. Back in the ring, the two men are working headlocks until Koji starts delivering stiff kicks, before sending Alex out to the floor with a dropkick, following out with a slingshot plancha. Kanemoto looks to whip Wright, but it's reversed, sending Koji into the guardrail, allowing Alex to get back into the ring, where he attempts to bring Kanemoto in the hard way, only for Koji to float over and nail a tiger suplex for a 2 count.
That's a way to try to put a man away. Bobby Heenan at one point lets us know that while the Japanese wrestlers have been here, some of them have been wrestling in the Smoky Mountains. And Tony Schiavone says, no one wrestles in the Smoky Mountains. There's no corny in WCW. But I just thought it was really funny that Tony was like, no, nobody wrestles in the Smoky Mountains. Just, cutting... there's only 2 promotions in this country.
Kanemoto hits a body slam and a top rope moonsault, but he decides he hasn't delivered enough punishment, so Koji goes back to the stiff kicks. Kanemoto then sends Wright to a corner, where he leaps up and over a charging Koji, before nailing a bridging German, a leg lariat, a running back elbow, and a slingshot splash for a near fall.
Damn.
Alex heads up top, coming off with a dropkick, but Kanemoto meets him mid-air with a dropkick of his own for a double KO.
You love to see it. I mean, they warned us earlier that Kanemoto's got a bit of a temper.
Back to their feet, Wright is whipped to a corner, but he leaps off with a crossbody for a 2 count, followed by a suplex attempt, only for Koji to elbow his way free. Kanemoto then hits a second rope corkscrew senton for a near fall, goes up top again for a crossbody, only for Alex to meet him mid-air with a dropkick.
Toe-to-toe, brother.
Wright then takes advantage, coming off the top with a missile dropkick before setting Koji on the turnbuckles for a superplex for a 2 count. Alex's whip is reversed, so he tries to leap up and over a charging Kanemoto, but he's caught and dropped with a snake eyes before being rolled up in a jackknife for the pin and the win. So New Japan's up 2-0.
Alex whipped when he should have nay-nayed.
Never whip when you should have named it. Avoid it at all costs.
So the commentators are talking about WCW being down 2-0, with Dusty comparing it to the World Series, but says that WCW has some big cannons still to come. Mean Gene then plugs the hotline, saying Mark Madden will have the scoop on someone being offered lots of money. Okerlund then brings in Sonny Onoo, who starts laughing about New Japan's lead and threatens to buy WCW if they win. Maybe even buy Iowa.
Iowa, huh?
Sounds like Bobby wrote that line for him. That sounds like a Bobby Ian.
Or did he forget he was in Tennessee?
I think maybe he couldn't afford Tennessee, but he could probably afford Iowa.
Mean Gene says WCW isn't for sale, but Iowa might be possible. You Japanese people should know.
Ouch.
It's like, Mean Gene, sir.
It's like that thing on Community that they made for Chevy Chase's character, the old white guy says on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sonny then claims they have friends in the Dungeon of Doom, with Okerlund asking if he paid someone off, but Ono feigns confusion to avoid the question. That leads us to our third match, Masahiro Chono with Sonny Ono versus Lex Luger with Jimmy Hart in a World Cup matchup. And the last time we saw Masahiro was at Collision in Korea, episode 161. Lex uses headlocks and shoulder blocks early on before a press slam, but Chono answers with forearms and kicks to send Luger to the floor to regroup. Lex asks for a test of strength,
Boom, boom, boom.
only for it to be a ruse as he cheap shots and rams Masahiro into multiple corners.
I couldn't believe how big of a pop Lex Luger got. It was like the biggest pop I've seen him get in a long time. Probably also helps that WCW's down 2 matches at this point, but I was just kind of taken aback at
He's facing a foreign heel.
Yeah, but I know, but it's just like you haven't heard any. I feel like Lex has just kind of been Lex.
Yeah.
He hasn't been presented as much of anything for quite a while.
He, like, trying to murder Savage, like, on the last pay-per-view?
Yes.
And
I mean, he
That
made
was
him
cheap.
pass out.
Yeah.
Team USA. Woo! All the way, baby.
I mean, I get it. Yeah,
Yes.
you gotta. He was gonna get a bigger pop for the foreign heel. I still was just like,
Luger goes for a suplex, only for Chono to reverse, followed by knees, chokes, and kicks to gain the advantage. Masahiro locks on a sleeper, drops him with a reverse DDT before applying the STF. Lex slowly crawls his way to the ropes to break the hold. So Chono stays on the attack with forearms, an atomic drop, and a Yakuza kick.
yeah. I love that he looks like he's gonna go to the top rope, and then he changes his mind and just hits the rope, hits that Yakuza kick that we all know and love. Dusty Rhodes calls it a mafia kick because the Yakuza is
No,
the
Dusty
Japanese
doesn't.
mafia.
Dusty doesn't understand move names. He just says it's just a kick to the head. Just call it a kick to the head. It doesn't
Dusty.
matter what kind of kick it is. It's just a kick to the head.
I never
It's
met a-
Masahiro. It's Masahiro Chono's Yakuza kick. It doesn't look like other kicks. That's why we like it. It looks mean. It's like a push.
Masahiro goes up top, coming off with a double axe handle, but Luger with a back elbow to the throat on his way down, allowing Lex to put Chono into the torture rack for the submission and the win. WCW's picked up a win, but they're still down 2-1.
I don't like that Luger beat Chono there.
Yeah, but
I get it, but
yeah.
I don't like it.
I felt the same way. I was like, oh, are they going to go 3? And then I was like, well, the reason that Koji won was because New Japan wasn't going to
He's
let...
also the champion.
He was a champion, so New Japan wasn't going to let him get pinned. So I knew when they said that he wasn't going to get pinned. Like, sure, WCW doesn't care, but New Japan cares. They're not going to be like, oh, you can't pin our junior heavyweight champion. Chono, sure. But he doesn't have a belt right now. It's okay.
Yeah. I'm surprised. Actually, I was surprised Benoit didn't pin Liger.
Yeah, that's what I originally thought too, but it's like these guys...
Because that would
are
have made more
professionals.
sense.
Yeah.
We go to the back. Mean Gene's there with Sting, and they're saying it's good news that WCW finally got a win. With Sting saying Johnny B. Bad is going to get the next one as well. Ogerlin brings up Sasaki beating Sting in Japan for the U.S. title, which just annoys the Stinger.
Yeah, that's not up for tonight.
Mean Gene then mentions the triangle match, and Sting knows the inevitable Luger question is coming. So he says that he is friends with Lex, and he's trying to repair the relationship with Macho. But it got edgy. Which I don't really know what that means, but...
I mean, Macho
Cool, Sting.
is always on edge.
Yeah. Bouncing off the walls and doesn't want to talk about it.
And the Stinger then finishes up by saying he will never forgive Flair.
I thought it was one of the better Sting promos, considering he's not a very good promo. I thought this one was a little more fired up, and he didn't stumble. I thought it was in the pantheon of, if you could use that word, of Sting promos. I thought this was one of maybe his better outings.
So we go to our fourth match. Johnny B. Bad with Kimberly versus Masa Saito with Sonny Onoo in a World Cup matchup. And the last time we saw Masa was at WCW New Japan Super Show 3, all the way back in episode 83.
Damn.
Man, it's been a while for this, tree trunk of a man. Something different here, though. Got a happy Kimberly.
She's being a cheerleader, basically.
Yeah,
here.
she's doing
cartwheels,
flips and shit, and it's got matching gear with Johnny B. Bad, like the black and silver.
It's causing Bobby and Tony to, lose their train of thought.
Yeah, I mean, she's a good-looking gal. She's even got a blaster of her own.
But Sonny Onoo grabs a mic, telling Kim she should be at home doing dishes. So she grabs it away, telling him it's not a Japanese bathhouse, and she's no geisha girl. Before also insulting his manhood.
It's like, wait, Sonny, this is Johnny B. Bad. He's acting like he's Diamond Dallas Page over here. She just got out of that kind of relationship.
So match gets going with Saito taking Johnny down to the mat to begin, wearing him down with chin locks, but Bad makes it back to his feet to exchange chops, which grow in intensity until Masa lands one in the throat. Saito keeps up the attack, even allowing Onoo to choke with his flag, before delivering a Saito suplex. More choking and Sonny interference before Johnny responds with a knee lift and a flying axe handle, followed by going up top for a flying sunset flip for a 2 count.
And I love that Tony and Dusty at times, but mostly Tony, is doing a good job. Somebody gave him good notes for putting over the Japanese wrestlers. Better than we've seen it ever done on WWF.
I mean, one of Dusty's last matches was in a match with Masa Saito.
Yeah,
he's
at
like that
yeah.
Super Show.
Yeah, and he talks about how Masa Saito's, he's no flips, all business.
Yep. So Bad continues the punishment with rights and lefts, a snap suplex, when Sonny jumps on the apron. And Johnny grabs Onoo, allowing Masa to attack from behind with a double axe handle, followed by dumping him over the ropes for a disqualification.
Dun, dun, dun.
Boo.
So we're all tied up at 2.
How convenient.
So wait a second. It's just we can't pin an older Masa Saito, but we can pin a Masahiro Chono.
I was like, why didn't they just flip the finishes of these 2 matches? It would have made more sense.
Yeah, or
like Luger can still win against Chono,
or Luger can.
But Luger gets dumped over the ropes.
Or Luger can have his match with Saito, and Johnny B. Bad can get pinned by Chono if they don't want Luger to take the pin. Either way is fine.
I mean, that's not a bad idea either.
Yeah, either one works totally fine.
Yeah,
and they're both viable options. All 4 guys are there. All 4 guys can do this. I know people talk shit on Johnny B. Bad, but I'm a Johnny B. Bad.
We've solved this problem 2 different ways.
I know. I didn't even think about it before. It's not in my notes. As soon as you said the finish, I was like, oh, click.
Yep. That would make so much more sense.
And nobody gets mad about the DQ because you could have
Chono doesn't need
pinned Bad.
It's just wrong.
Yeah, it's true.
Could have pinned Bad or Lex. I assume they'd rather pin Bad than Lex. But
Bad was a champion though.
That is a good point.
Oh, that's right.
But he could also get pinned on a Sonny Onoo's there, so you could have some kind of tease roll up finish or whatever, interference roll up finish.
I mean, I guess it probably would have made more sense for Bad to have actually pinned Saito, but the finish of this been in the Chono Lex match. That probably would have solved that problem as well with the champion.
Yeah. So either way, it's better if we could not have a DQ by top rope. I mean, that's what I would want most.
That would have been best because the top rope is dumb.
Yeah, because it's not consistent. Exactly. I'm fine with it being consistent, but it's not.
At this point, it's definitely not consistent.
Yeah, it hasn't been for years.
Post-match, Saito threatens Kimberly, only for Bad to stop him with right hands and drop kicks to send Masa out to the floor. Johnny then flies over the ropes with a bad day, a somersault plancha, that grazes Saito and Sonny, but sends them running to the back.
He's a bad man.
He's so pretty.
Our commentators then are discussing the World Cup standings, and the brain seems to be rooting for a New Japan win, with Shivani and Dusty disgusted at this, even going as far as Rhodes implying they should hang him.
Wow.
A little much.
But Tony tries to distract us from that thought by giving us an ad for Super Brawl 6 before being sent backstage with Mean Gene, Jimmy Hart, and Lex Luger. Okerlund asks about Kevin Sullivan, with Jimmy saying he interfered because he has a short fuse, causing Mean Gene to make a dirty joke. Okerlund then turns his attention to the triangle match, where Lex claims that he, Sting, and Flair are synonymous with superiority, and they all want Savage's title. Luger continues saying that he would have torn Macho's arm out of socket if not for the stinger, before telling Hart that he's gonna do this alone tonight. Lex promises to reign supreme as Mean Gene sends it back to the ring. For our fifth match, Shinjiro Ohtani with Sonny Onoo versus Eddie Guerrero in a World Cup matchup. And the graphics people misspell Ohtani as Ohtani.
Ohtani! Dusty puts over Eddie as the pound for pound one of the best in the game. I thought it was kind of interesting, considering we really have not seen Eddie much in WCW. I mean, granted, he's been on Nitros, I'd imagine, but as far as pay-per-views,
only the second one.
Yeah, it's fun watching him
from the beginning.
Yeah, take
part of the fun of this show.
Yeah, it's the whole reason we do it. It's like I said, it's a book club, but we record it.
Shinjiro keeps taking Eddie down by the hair and locking him in holds, when Guerrero would nail a monkey flip and a head scissors takedown to send Ohtani out to the floor to regroup. Eddie hits a drop kick, a body slam, and a slingshot senton before applying a Boston Crab, which Shinjiro reaches the ropes to break. Guerrero keeps up the attack with a power bomb and a brainbuster for a 2 count, followed by a corner clothesline. Eddie then whips Ohtani to the corner for a Flair flip out to the apron, where he comes back in with a springboard dropkick that sends Guerrero out to the floor. Shinjiro then springboards off the ropes with a crossbody out onto Eddie, before rolling back in to deliver another dropkick. Ohtani continues with chokes, chin locks, and sleepers, which Eddie escapes to nail a Saito suplex for a near fall. Guerrero goes for another suplex, but Shinjiro reverses it into a bridging German for a 2 count, followed by a springboard wheel kick. Ohtani hits a body slam and heads up top, only for Eddie to meet him there for a super Frankensteiner for a near fall.
And we're really doing it, folks.
Guerrero then drops Shinjiro with a splash mountain bomb for a 2 count. And the two men start trading waistlocks when Ohtani takes Eddie down into a leg grapevine, but Guerrero reaches the ropes to break the hold. Shinjiro charges at Eddie only for him to low bridge, sending Ohtani flying out to the floor. Guerrero then follows out to send Shinjiro into the guardrail and body slam him on the concrete, before delivering a springboard crossbody as well. Eddie rolls Ohtani back in, but he decides he wants to suplex him back to the floor from the apron, only for Shinjiro to reverse, bringing Guerrero into the ring with a vertical suplex of his own. A springboard dropkick to the back of Eddie's head by Ohtani, which also ended up busting Shinjiro's nose open as he landed face first on the mat.
Shinjiro, he's kind of got like one speed, and it is,
holy shit,
pedal to the metal.
He follows that up with a dragon suplex attempt, which Guerrero escapes with a back elbow. Eddie goes for a hurricanrana, only for Shinjiro to roll on top for a 2. Guerrero then rolls back on top with a jackknife pin for a near fall, but Ohtani then rolls back over on top again for the pin and the win. So New Japan's back up 3-2.
I mean, they've got the, we have our quibbles with a couple of the match finishes or how we maybe thought it should have went, but the, New Japan winning 2, WCW winning 1, New Japan winning 1, it's like you're doing all that right. Yep. That's how it's got to be.
Yep.
We go the back Mean Gene's there with Randy Savage. And Okerlund says it's now on Macho and Sting to win before bringing up the triangle match. But Savage doesn't want to discuss that. He's not talking.
It's still maybe my favorite promo outside of all time, outside of New Jack cutting a promo on white people, is just Macho saying, I'm not talking over and over again. I obviously, because we bring it up all the time.
Yep.
But every time we do, it truly brings me so much joy.
We haven't had this gimmick in a while, but it's our next T-shirt, guys. Macho goes on about how he likes being the underdog, singing the praises of the Stinger and Luger, before saying he's going to infinity and beyond.
Oh, Lord.
And breaking through to the other side.
Did Toy Story came out earlier this year, right?
Yes.
I was trying to think, we
Just a few
talked
weeks
about it
before,
right?
I think.
Yeah. So he must have, I find it hard to believe that Macho Man went and saw Toy Story. But it's probably in the commercials.
He loves Tom Hanks, man.
I mean, he does the world.
Actually, I feel like he's probably more of a Tim Allen guy.
Aw. Yeah, I'd say most wrestlers probably are more Tim Allen guys.
Savage appears to be done, but Mean Gene says he has talked to Hulk on the phone. So Macho asks what he said, with Okerlund saying he inquired about Savage's state of mind. And Macho says, "Tell him I'm in the zone! He knows what the zone's all about!" Before claiming he's done, because he can't say another word. Macho then walks off as Mean Gene's wrapping up, but he returns to add, "Oh yeah!"
You gotta give the people what they want.
Damn right.
He tried that Infinity and Beyond thing. He was like, no, I've got to just, oh yeah.
Less is more.
So we go to our sixth match. Hiroshi Tenzan with Sonny Onoo versus Macho Man Randy Savage in a World Cup matchup.
And Tenzan is on the rise in New Japan, as he ends up being a staple, but it's the first time we've seen him, right?
It is not.
It's the first time we've seen him in the mask, maybe?
The mask, yes.
Yeah, so like he's gimmicked up.
So the last time we saw Hiroyoshi was at Battle 7, which was the January 4th show of 95, episode 140. And the graphics people strike again with misspelling.
I noticed that.
But if you noticed his jacket that he was wearing, it had his shoot name on it.
Ah.
It did not even he did not even have Tenzan on his jacket.
Yeah,
What did
that's
they say?
funny.
It was a shoot name. I don't remember.
I don't know what
Okay.
his name is. The Japanese man's name.
I'm like, I don't know.
So the two grapple their way around the ring until the ref separates them. So Tenzan goes to work with chops, kicks, clubbing forearms, and clotheslines. Macho retaliates by ramming Hiroyoshi into a turnbuckle, but Tenzan shakes it off like he's a Samoan.
He does have a big ass head. Tenzan's got a fucking melon, big old square head to this day. Love seeing just that big gold on Macho Man as he walks out. It looks so good on him. And it really warmed the cockles of my heart.
Hiroyoshi keeps up the attack with chokes, nerve holds, elbows, but a rake of the eyes slows the momentum momentarily as Tenzan comes right back with a spinning wheel kick. Headbutts, Mongolian chops, and elbows send Savage rolling out to the floor, only for Hiroyoshi to follow out, ramming his head against the ring post
Posted.
and a not-so-rubber band slam across the guardrail.
They inform us that Tenzan recently pinned the Great Muta in Japan. So, that's how you know that New
He's on the
Japan,
come up.
he's on the rise if they're letting him pin Muta clean.
Back in the ring, Tenzan hits a Samoan drop and a flying headbutt before going up top for a moonsault, which Macho moves to avoid. Savage hits a clothesline that sends Hiroyoshi out to the apron, and he tries to go for a suplex but can't fully lift him over, so Tenzan is rubber band slammed.
A real gut buster. Can you imagine Tenzan doing a moonsault today?
No.
I've only seen him as like the dad wrestler outside
He
of.
still actually wrestles today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's one of the old guys in multi-man matches, but way more rarely in the last couple of years than previously.
He should probably retire.
I gotta look him up, see what he looks like today.
He still wears that damn
He
mask.
looks pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah, just a little bit more weight on him and a little more jowly.
So Macho Man goes up top, coming off with the Savage elbow for the pin and the win. So we're all tied up at 3 again. It's going to come down to that last match, guys.
Yeah, Tenzan does get that leg up, like right at the end of the 3.
Our commentator's talking about the remaining matches, and Heenan's facing the wrong direction. And when Tony lets him know, Bobby ends up fumbling and dropping everything while trying to turn, which causes everyone to laugh.
Yeah, it's like Bobby made a mistake and then played into it.
Mean Gene's in the back laughing as well before saying there's a gigantic meltdown happening and it's not in WCW. Call the hotline. Okerlund brings up the Tide World Cup, but that Ric Flair, who joins him now, is sitting back and watching. The Nature Boy calls the World Cup a great conception, but the WCW World Heavyweight Championship is the most coveted trophy in all of sports. And I agree with you, sir.
Yeah, of course. Trophy's cool.
Because you remember a few years ago, they were like, Sting got his Battle Bowl, and he's like, "Oh yeah, the Battle Bowl. I don't want the world title. I want the Battle Bowl ring.
Give me that ring."
Yeah, and this trophy is for like all of WCW. It's not like for one guy or whatever.
Yeah. All
Flair,
WCW and the world.
And yeah.
Flair promises to style and profile before telling Sting and Luger they have to beat the man to be the man.
Classic Flair.
Woo!
I love it. He says, "I'll be fresh. Dolly Parton to my left, some other lady to my right." He like couldn't think of another person, but he's like Dolly Parton. Yeah, so fun. And I would love a reproduction of a Gold's Gym T-shirt that he was wearing. He's wearing like a purple shirt. I guess maybe Rick owned a Gold's Gym or something.
Yeah, it was his gym.
Yeah, but it says Ric Flair's Gold's Gym, and then it has the Gold's Gym logo. I'm like, it's a real nice T-shirt.
So we get our 7th match. Kensuke Sasaki with Sonny Onoo versus Sting in a World Cup matchup. Kensuke is the WCW US Heavyweight Champion, but the title is not on the line.
I mean, in a tournament, typically that's the way it goes. I do think it's funny that, it makes sense, but they made Sting and Lex work, and then Rick just works the last match. But then you got, Rick always the heel in a freshly version 1.0 of the Four Horsemen. He's got a couple of weathered men later.
Well, it also tells you about the depth of WCW at this point.
Good point. Who else would you put in there? Who else you got?
DDP, Ming,
Yeah.
Giant.
Yeah, DDP and Ming, basically. The Giant, they probably sent back to the power plant on weekdays.
Sasaki attacks right as the bell rings, clubbing the Stinger and ramming him into multiple turnbuckles before wearing him down with a chinlock. Sting fights back with chops, forearms, and a Stinger splash. He tries for a second one, only for Kensuke to move and deliver a facebuster. Sasaki keeps up the attack with several clotheslines, till Sting ducks one to hit a dropkick and a clothesline that sends Kensuke over the ropes to the floor. Stinger then pulls Sasaki up to the apron to try for a suplex, only for Kensuke to float over and nail a power slam before delivering a Northern Lights brainbuster. But he doesn't make the cover, instead gloating to the crowd.
And
Cocky.
I must say, maybe one of the best looking brainbusters I've ever seen.
Love a Northern Lights anything.
Yeah, but he just really nailed it, because sometimes the brainbuster just looks like a stalling suplex. But I understand it's pretty dangerous to drop somebody on their head.
Sasaki begins to work over Sting with different holds, including a Scorpion Deathlock. But Sting powers out to escape. Kensuke continues to attack the leg before trying for a running power slam, only for the Stinger to wiggle out the back, nailing Sasaki with a clothesline and a facebuster of his own. Sting applies the Scorpion Deathlock in the middle of the ring, forcing Kensuke to submit for the win. And WCW wins the World Cup 4-3.
Sorry, Sting. You still want your belt back.
Did you pop for the dragon screw? I popped for a dragon screw. I don't know why, but probably just because I was,
Who doesn't love a dragon screw?
I love it. I just always think of Hiroshi Tanahashi every time I see a dragon screw.
Post-match, Savage, Guerrero, Benoit, Wright, Bad, and Luger all join the Stinger in celebration. Mean Gene also joins them in the ring to present the trophy, which he says he wants filled with champagne for him, which get
Okay.
drunk.
I love that Chris is like the last one to the ring, and he kind of stays away from the like. He's not really like cheering or smiling like everybody else is because he's the only like heel in the ring. And I'm like, hell yeah, Chris.
Luger's a heel,
We don't know what Luger. He is, but
he's
you know,
friends with Sting.
He's friends with Sting. Yeah.
So
Chris is the odd man
Okerlund mentions that Sting still has work to do, which he agrees, but he does have one thing to say. USA! So I guess he didn't want him to root for Benoit or Wright. And then Lex and Stinger raise the cup together high up in the air.
I mean, those are the guys that should be lifting it because we've got some a big match coming up. What might happen between the two men?
So our commentators recap the World Cup, and Heenan looks disappointed, asking if he has to give back his Lexus. Because, he sold half of WCW Pro.
Yeah.
Tony then sends us to a video package about what led to the triangle match. Macho Man became champion at World War III by being the last man in the ring. Or was he? A replay error prevented them from knowing for sure. Except for that we all watched it and we know the truth.
Can you imagine? I mean, that's the benefit of no streaming at the time, I guess. But it'd be really funny if instead of Hogan going
Or
nuts,
someone just repaid for the replay of the pay-per-view.
no, but like if instead of Hogan,
So I can guarantee that they did this whole tampering thing, and then 5 seconds later they were like, "Hey everybody, check out the pay-per-view on replay tomorrow night."
Yeah.
But we're not going to be able to see the finish.
I would
Why
have.
we watch it?
I would have loved if instead of Hogan going berserk or whatever, he turns heel by getting caught. They just walk into a room. He's got scissors out and he's cutting the tape. So
The narrator continues by saying Luger is on a quest for the title, but calls his actions bizarre, before questioning Sting's loyalty, with even Hogan wanting to know what side the Stinger is on. Flair has an advantage because he's the fresh man, and in the triangle match, a coin toss will determine who starts, but anyone can tag in at any time.
backslap tags. The coin toss must happen off screen.
So we go to our 8th match. Lex Luger versus the Nature Boy Ric Flair versus Sting in a triangle match to be the number 1 contender for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. And the winner of this match will face Macho Man just moments after the match is over.
Pretty wild. Also, crazy. Keep in mind, no Jimmy Hart. Lex doesn't have his heel manager.
He said
He
he was
said, "I'm
going
gonna
out
do
there
it
by
alone."
himself.
He's trying to, do it the right way.
So Sting and Nate start us off with a press slam, a clothesline for 2 count. Then the Stinger goes for the Scorpion Deathlock, only for Flair to immediately get to the ropes. He's trying to finish it early, guys.
I mean, he's probably a little sleepy, a little worn.
Back in, the Nature Boy's working over Sting with arm locks, and he starts to chop away until the Stinger fires up to absorb them. He hits a hip toss, a drop kick, and press slams Nate once again. Mounted punches in the corner and a face buster sends Flair to the floor to regroup, only for Sting to follow out, where the Nature Boy sends him into a guardrail. But Stinger bounces out with a clothesline. Nate tries for more chops and another whip into the guardrail, only to be no-sold, so Flair retreats back into the ring. Sting with a hip toss, and he goes for a drop kick, only for the Nature Boy to sidestep it. Nate then taunts Luger to cause a distraction, allowing him to attack the Stinger's leg, before tossing him out to the floor, where Flair runs Sting into the guardrail and delivers some right hands. A rolling knee drop is followed by several pin attempts, all for 2s, before hitting a vertical suplex, which the Stinger no-sells and rallies for a press slam and a superplex, making the cover, only for Lex to break up the count.
I love that Sting and Ric Flair just always equals press slam city. Like ever since Nitro, Sting has just been press slamming the first Nitro. Sting, anytime he gets anywhere near Ric Flair, just press slams the shit out of him.
Sting questions what he's doing, but this allows the Nature Boy to hit a jumping knee to send him into Luger, which the ref counts as a tag. Lex then puts Nate on the run again, down the aisleway, only for Luger to follow, pick him up, and bring him back to the ring.
Bad Ric Flair.
Flair gets a cheap shot in, and he goes for several shoulder tackles, only for Lex to absorb and press slam the Nature Boy down as well. Nate takes some more mounted punches in the corner for a Flair flop, followed by an elbow drop for a near fall. The Nature Boy then rakes the eyes before starting to work on Luger's leg, even hitting it with a chair, even though the ref is literally looking right at him. Nate locks on the figure four, sometimes even using leverage to get multiple 2 counts. But then he starts to slap Lex, which wakes him up, allowing him to turn the move over to break the hold.
I mean, you can't be slapping the bigger guy.
No.
It's gonna piss him off.
Don't slap a juice head.
Flair rolls out to the apron to regroup, only for Luger to bring him back in with a vertical suplex for a near fall. The Nature Boy goes up top, where Lex meets him to press slam him off to the middle of the ring.
Hey, it's Lex's turn to do the press slam.
But Nate starts chopping and punch away with Luger no selling, so Flair just had enough, and he tags Sting in.
You guys figured this out.
The two men then have a feeling out process before going to a test of strength.
That's what you do with your friends. You gotta know who's stronger.
But Lex kicks the Stinger to take control.
They shake hands before they start fighting, and the crowd gives us some cheers and jeers. We got some mixed feelings about the handshake, and they let us know that Sting and Lex last fought at Super Brawl 2, and that Sting beat Lex to win the heavyweight title. Just a little bit of context for the boys in the ring.
Luger then rams Sting into multiple turnbuckles until he tries one too many times, where the Stinger blocks and does the same to Lex, before delivering mounted punches in the corner, only for Luger to counter with an atomic drop, which is blocked, followed by Sting nailing several more clotheslines. Lex comes back with shoulder blocks, and he charges into the corner, only to receive a big boot, followed by the Stinger sending Luger to another corner, where he charges out again, but with a clothesline. Lex hits a rubber band slam, some chokes and kicks to send Sting out to the floor, where he follows out with a double axe handle off the apron, only for the Stinger to catch him in the gut. Back in the ring, Sting comes off the top with a crossbody for a 2 count, hits a body slam and goes for a pump splash, but Luger gets his knees up. Lex starts dropping multiple elbows from multiple near falls. He goes for a kick, but it's caught, allowing the Stinger to hit a big boot, right hands, and he goes for the Scorpion Deathlock.
Oh no.
Only for Luger to grab the ropes to block, but he does low blow Sting before the hold is released.
That's not what friends do.
Lex continues with an inverted atomic drop, and he goes for a slam, only for the Stinger to roll up Luger for a 2 count. Sting's tossed the ropes, but he comes back with a sunset flip for a near fall. Lex tries for another suplex, but the Stinger blocks and reverses it into one of his own, followed by another facebuster. We get a Stinger splash, and he goes for a second one, only for Luger to move in time, allowing Lex to apply the torture rack, where Sting's boot ends up knocking the ref down.
Ref bump.
Flair comes in with a chop block to the back of Luger's leg, causing him to roll out to the floor, followed by tossing the Stinger out as well. The Nature Boy then revives the ref and tells him to start the count. Sting almost enters back into the ring at 9, but Lex grabs his leg at the last second,
10.
causing a double countout, making Ric Flair your number 1 contender.
It is a great heel win for Rick. And then the friendship angle, it got a little heated because they had to hit each other. So it makes sense. We always are all bummed about a count out, but puts more heat on Rick, and then exacerbates the will they won't they of Lex and Sting.
Post-match, Luger claims he was just grabbing at Sting for help, saying his knee is hurt, but the Stinger doesn't buy it, just looking at Lex disappointed.
Aw. It's like, yeah, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. It's like, my heart.
Heartbroken Sting.
Hate to see it.
Breaks my heart.
All of a sudden, Jimmy Hart makes his way down to the ring, completely ignoring Luger.
Oh my gosh.
And going to talk to Nate.
Oh.
And we go to our commentators who talk the history between Flair and Savage as they faced each other quite a few times.
Ric Flair hitting Angelo Poffo, maybe a year ago?
I think it was earlier than the year at Bash for the Beach.
Was it? Okay, yeah. So, yeah, in the summer.
Yeah. And the brain believes that Nate will take the title for the 12th time. Well, let's find out in our 9th match. The Nature Boy, Ric Flair, with Jimmy Hart versus Macho Man Randy Savage for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship.
There's no break. Ric Flair's still in the ring. He's just got a new manager, ? And Jimmy Hart in his corner.
He does get a long enough break for Michael Buffer to make some introductions. So let's get ready to... Oh, yeah! Macho surprises Nate with a backslide for a 2 count to begin before they trade chops and punches. All of a sudden, Paul Orndorff has walked out and he's wearing a neck brace. He's just staring at the ring.
He's wearing like a neck brace and a long sleeve polo. Just looking like a dad in a neck brace.
So the story behind this is that Brian Pillman had become a loose cannon.
See,
pissing everybody off, including the Dungeon of Doom and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
He's being he's being a little Bart Simpson, just getting in everyone's shit.
So this is also the reason why Kevin Sullivan interfered in Benoit's match.
Mm-hmm.
Pillman's not on the card. There's another person that could have been on this card.
Would have been great.
But Sullivan interferes in Benoit's match because they're both horsemen.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why Sullivan did that. But the reason Orndorff is out here is that at one incident included the horseman Spike pile driving Mr. Wonderful onto concrete.
Ugh.
What?
And this will be the last time we see Mr. Wonderful.
So they actually break his neck?
No, he was calling it quits and they did an injury angle to basically write him off.
That checks out. I mean, we love Paul. Sad to see him go. We never saw peak Paul as he was a bigger star in the Madison Square Garden era of WWF. But the man never really lost a step as far as I'm concerned with character work, and he's just all around
adaptability.
Yeah, he's just a great.
When you go from Madison Square Garden with Hogan to Shovels with Cactus Jack.
And yeah. And nobody ever stops calling you Paul, and nobody forgot. Mm-hmm. Also, never knew that they called him the loose cannon in WCW.
I mean, I may have just added that.
No, they said it. I have it in my notes.
Did they?
They call him a loose cannon multiple times, but the first time is what you just when Orndorff comes out and they bring it up, and I didn't realize that carried over. I just thought that was strictly a WWF coat of paint.
Back to the match. Savage goes for mounted punches, but Flair counters into an atomic drop and goes for the figure 4, only to be kicked away. Macho with a turnbuckle smash and a whip to the corner for a Flair flip out to the floor. Following out from the top rope with a double axe handle, only for the Nature Boy to catch him in the gut before ramming Savage into a guardrail. Nate starts working the bad arm, running Macho into a ring post.
Posted.
Even Jimmy Hart gets involved at one point. Back in the ring, the arm work continues, even using leverage from the ropes, when Savage fires up with right hands, only for Flair to lock on a sleeper. Macho then breaks free to lay it in with right hands, a back body drop, and multiple clotheslines for a near fall. Hart jumps on the apron to distract the ref, while Savage is climbing to the top rope, where he comes off with another double axe handle attempt, only for Nature Boy to be back on his feet to punch him on his way down. Jimmy then tosses his megaphone into the ring to Nate. He goes to use it, only for Macho to kick it away before picking it up and clocking Flair with it to bust him open.
Ric Flair juice.
Savage goes up top again, hitting the top rope elbow, but the ref is still distracted.
He's got the visual pin.
Brian Pillman runs down and jumps onto the turnbuckle, only for Macho to press slam him off into Chris Benoit, who has just run into the ring as well. Savage goes after Pillman when Arn makes his way into the ring, laying out Macho with a brass knuckles, allowing Flair to make the cover for the pin and the win. And new!
A very bloody Ric Flair.
That's our Flair.
The crowd is pumped for a Ric Flair win, even though he did it as dirty as he possibly could.
You got Flair and Savage for the belt. You got to have a bloody Flair.
Oh, yeah. I'd say anytime Flair is in the last match, there should be blood, especially if it's one-on-one.
Flair
I feel like
Starrcade, blood.
Please and thank you.
Post-match, Flying Brian is going nuts, spitting at the camera, whipping Savage with the belt.
He's really pretty into this character,
Yeah.
this new loose cannon.
So Tony says that Mean Gene was going to interview the Nature Boy, but he needs medical attention.
It's probably too deep of a blade. He went further than Bret Hart in our previous show last week.
Heenan's laughing, saying Nate went out there and did it. And Shivani congratulates WCW on winning the World Cup before plugging Hogan's return in 1996. He then says his goodbyes as the Brain is talking about partying through the night as we go to credits. So, one little fun rumor note here. Flair didn't know about the blade job.
Oh, yeah.
As supposedly Macho's the one that cut him.
Oh, no wonder it was deep. And he was probably pissed. Because you don't cut people, you let them cut themselves.
So I was like,
That's dirty.
This might have also been the reason why no one really stopped Pillman at the end whipping. Because like they were just kind of like, yeah, dude, just do whatever you want. Like they didn't kind of call him off.
Yeah,
at
that's
some
like,
point.
I mean, we love Randy, but that is not cool.
Like I said, rumor,
Rumor?
and innuendo. Who
Yeah.
knows if it's true? Just throwing it out there.
It's one of the fun things about wrestling
Yeah.
is the rumor and innuendo. But that is not cool.
No.
I mean, that's like some Abby shit.
Like if he had done it himself, I would say that they saw the In Your House match and were like, okay, well let's do blood as well.
Yeah, we don't have an issue with.
But it's very obvious that Savage is the one that's like on top of him and he cuts him.
I'll have to go back and watch that. I did not catch it when I was watching the show initially.
Yeah.
I just figured, Ric Flair bleeds.
Flair bleeding.
Yeah.
Woo!
His hair's fucking bleach blonde for a reason.
So I ask you, gentlemen, what are your overall thoughts of Starrcade 1995? And before you say anything, I want to go first.
Go ahead.
Cat?
I'm of two minds on this show. The crowd does not help the show at all, as they don't know who the Japanese wrestlers are, as they were only ever featured on WCW's third show. They were never on Nitro, they were never on Saturday Night. They were just on WCW Pro. But me being me, and I think this is how you guys feel as well, we love all of these Japanese guys almost as much as we love these WCW guys.
Well, you know, you got an Ohtani fan in me.
My only complaint is actually the Triangle main event match, which were the only matches that this crowd was into. So saying all that, I would say that this event is solid, but nothing stands out as a must-watch.
I would say that it is a very nice show and that it doesn't reach the highs of say, like G1 style match tournaments. This is like what we called an American Best of the Super Junior American G1 match. This is American G1 style matches, but even more American. But this was not a hard watch. There's no Hogan and none of Hogan's pals. There's no outside of Jimmy Hart, but there's no Hacksaw or fucking what's his face, Zodiac. No Zodiac, even though he's not. He's a Hogan friend, even though right now he's a heel. But you know what I mean. Like Hogan's like guys that he kind of brought over with him. They're not here, and because of that, we get what I think is a really good wrestling show. And why it might not be a must-watch, I would say that it is a should-watch if you like wrestling, if you have any interest in Japanese wrestling. If you have
the crowd and Dusty, I should mention because
Matt doesn't like Dusty. Here.
Dusty's comments, like you guys didn't even mention it, but like
he's all over it.
He's like German suplex, like why is it from Germany?
Yeah.
It's just a suplex.
When he's fun, he's fun, but
it got annoying
Yeah.
after a while. So Dusty was my
He's on your
least
shit
favorite.
list.
He was my least favorite thing of this entire show. It was just one of those, like, every match is solid, but the crowd just not being, like, if the crowd had been into any of these matches, it would have taken the show to another level.
The only time they are excited is like for the tournament matches is Lex, because we're down. WCW is down in
they're happy
points,
for the Lex, the Macho, and the Sting,
and they want to chant USA.
But
as far as like getting into a like wrestling match, like because a lot of these are
the people we paid to see.
A lot of these are booked pretty well. Like Macho Man works from underneath against Tenzan the whole time.
I mean, we
wins on like a fluke type of win.
We talked about the two matches that we would kind of flip how they were done. Other than that,
and Lex has to win because
that is really the only complaint about the World Cup matches.
Yeah, I think that they're all worked well, and none of these guys had any like crazy mistakes in the ring against each other. Considering they probably haven't.
I mean,
had a
the
ton of
worst
matches.
mistake is Liger.
Yeah,
and out of everybody, who do you expect not to have a mistake? Is Liger.
And Liger, and which it's also crazy because Liger and Benoit have the most amount of time in ring probably against each other. But I mean, I think the show is so much better and more solid than a lot of WCW shows.
I mean, it's probably still one of the best Starrcades we've ever watched.
I would probably, match for match, I would say absolutely. But like, what do you expect? You didn't do the work to put the Japanese talent over.
Exactly.
Like you could recently. Forbidden Door happened, and people were like, "Oh, well, the build kind of stinks," but it didn't matter when all the fans showed up, because all the fans showed up and they knew who these guys were, and they made the show.
Exactly.
The build was trash,
like,
but the matches,
literally,
the guys delivered, and the fans had the opportunity to see the guys watch.
I watched
Japanese
this
wrestling
show
on the internet.
I watched this show at the same time I was watching Forbidden Door, and it was just like this extreme comparison. It's the same kind of show.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same kind of show, and
more singles matches here, obviously.
Obviously, but you know what?
Yeah, as far as like interpromotional
fan reaction.
Yeah, the fan reaction for the Japanese people on Forbidden Door is just over the top, and
it mostly has to do with the fact that the internet exists and they are.
And I mean,
hardcore
I
wrestling
understand.
fans.
I understand why.
Yes,
but at the same time, as I said, if you're only putting these guys over on your third show, you're never saying anything. Like Liger showing up on the first Nitro, is literally the only one of these people that was ever on Nitro, and up to this point,
where they should have had tag matches with faces that were faces from New Japan that were going to be on the show.
I mean, at least put them on Saturday night, because Saturday night was a taped show. Nitro was a live show. I understand not bringing these guys over for one show on a Nitro.
But not the Sunday
tape
show.
Some shows on Saturday night, and then throw those highlights into Nitro to introduce these guys, and then show the whole match on Saturday nights.
Yeah, and also New Japan will give you probably a highlight reel of these guys doing devastating moves to other people.
Exactly.
They even have them doing devastating moves to people from WCW.
I mean, just put a bunch of the best of the Super Junior and G1. I mean, Ric Flair was in the G1 Climax. Benoit, Wright, Pillman were all in the Best of Super Juniors. Just put a bunch of highlights of these guys facing them. Like,
and it'll at least help some fan engagement. But the show, I think, is very good. The fan engagement is a thing. It didn't bother me so much because I was pretty into it just as a fan of the wrestlers. But I'd say you should watch it. Plus, Ric Flair wins the belt. Who doesn't want to see Ric Flair win the belt?
Like I said, solid. Nothing stands out as must watch.
Yep. I agree with that.
Good. Where's the smart marks at? All right. Fuck you.
Think it's time we smark it up. So what are some of the best moments of this show?
I love it when Ohtani gets pissed. That's just coming from a fanboy. When he starts kicking the shit out of people, I get excited.
That's my favorite match of the show. Ohtani and Guerrero.
Yeah,
but
it's
they've faced each other before as well, so we knew
that's
they.
What I was wondering as I was watching that is how many times have these guys actually gone one-on-one?
We've probably seen them face each other at least twice, just in our watching, because he was Black Tiger.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I mean
that pin sequence at the very end of that match where they're just rolling back and forth on top of each other.
And the finish was very Japanese tournament win.
Yeah.
The like roll, and it's like, fuck.
Yep.
You thought maybe that they would get up and exchange some more moves, but nope, you just got the better of them.
Yeah, that one for me was the hidden gem of the show because I didn't know it was going to be happening on it.
Yeah, I'd say it was. It beat, like, when it started, I was like, oh, so Benoit and Liger's going to be the best match of the show, and then Guerrero and Ohtani.
Yep.
They eked it out. I wouldn't say they eked it out. It was a much better match.
Even though don't like how they finished the match, and it's more just because we don't think Chono should take the torture rack, it is cool that Masahiro was willing to take the torture rack.
Yeah.
To see Lex get a guy up the size of Masahiro Chono into the torture rack.
Yeah, and is important to New Japan, who's pulling way bigger numbers at this point in time than WCW is. Like 8,000 people is, Masahiro Chono is headlining, the Tokyo Dome, or in and around this time.
Kimberly's Geisha Girl line. That was good.
Yeah, Kimberly. I was happy to see Kimberly just be positive.
Was fun.
Yeah, just have her with a fresh coat of paint on her and just doing the cheerleader thing, but not in like an annoying way. She's just like breaking loose a little bit after her oppressive relationship with the Diamond. I really like that the heel way in which Ric Flair won, and it just really puts over the nastiness and fuck you of the Four Horsemen.
This was a nasty-free show, sir.
It was a nasty-free show. Except for, I would say the nasty award would go to Macho Man Randy Savage if he truly, took the blade into his own hands. Which is a psycho move, by the way.
I mean, I guess, even though it's a sad moment, getting to see the final appearance of Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah, I didn't know that was the
unexpected. I guess that could fall into the most surprising because, I wasn't expecting that to happen yet. I mean,
he probably decided.
Yeah, he's older, so he was probably going to be cutting himself free within the next couple years. But yeah,
he had a couple of really great matches in these early '90s WCW where he was a pretty solid mid card with great performances. Or upper mid-card with great performances. So, that's not all bad. But, I mean, after he had to talk into the mirror with the guy with the white afro, he was probably like, you know what, I'm out. Because that shit sucked. Poor Paul Wonderful. That was dumb. And I don't know if they ever continued it. And it was on a pay-per-view of all things. It wasn't. I can't ever forget it because I think of it a lot.
Did we ever look up to see what the payoff was on that?
I don't know that there was one. Paul was probably like, you know what, fuck it. No thank you. Just have him powerbomb me, I'm out. Pile driving on the concrete.
How about most disappointing? It was sad that Liger didn't get that Hurricanrana in the first match.
Yeah, kind of similar to a recent show we watched where it was my favorite match, but then the finish wasn't.
Macho not getting the suplex on Tenzan. So they worked around both those things. It's not like
they weren't.
They're only noticeable because we're
wrestling fans.
were paying attention,
Yeah.
making sure of what's going on. You know,
The booing of the fans to Liger in that first match.
I got under your skin, didn't
It
it?
did.
Yeah.
You don't
fans are idiots.
You don't boo Liger. Unless he gives you a full-on reason to boo.
Especially like
I guess
Chris
I've never
Benoit's the
seen him
heel.
where he's given me a reason to boo. So
Even his heel moments, I think, are less like, or less of a boo thing, and more of like he's like had enough and is like breaking down and like has a freak out.
yeah,
The triangle match for me, it went for like 27, 28 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, and it should have been 18.
And
max.
they didn't do anything fun in the match, really.
It wasn't fun, and
Like-
then it had a disappointing
Like,
finish that
it was
made
literally,
sense.
it was Sting versus Flair, and then Sting tags out. So it's Flair versus Luger, and then Flair tags out, and so then it's Sting. Like, it was never a triangle match. It was basically just 3 singles matches that was all wrestled within the same match
Yeah.
with. And I mean, the one thing I do like the finish.
I like the finish too. It just, if it happened quicker.
Exactly.
Because it's like, the finish makes total sense.
I mean, I think it would have made more sense to, especially for Sting and Luger, to be tagging out more often because they have wrestled earlier in the night.
Yeah. And
I mean,
and Rick-
I know in this style of match you want to be in the ring because that's the only way you can win.
Yeah.
But it was just very.
But then you could also have Rick trying to get the tag the whole time stuck in the corner. I think it would be more helpful in the like escalation of drama.
Yeah. And actually, I mean, the main event, the championship match, I know I said that I didn't love it, but actually it was a good match. It was
Yeah.
just, you know,
Good, great.
both Macho and Flair had already worked a match in the night, so it was definitely a slower version of something that they probably could have put together.
Yeah, and there's a good excuse with the fact that
And
like, oh, it's
Savage's arm is actually is hurt. That is the reason why they had to get the belt off of Hogan, and they won the pop of Savage winning at World War III. But his arm really was hurt, so like literally they knew they had to turn around and get the belt back off of it.
Yeah, and who's better to put it on right now than Ric Flair, the leader of a new iteration of the Horsemen?
Exactly.
And they did it in great
All
fashion
fails,
as far
give
as
all the Flair.
like, you know, Flair looking. He's an even bigger heel after tonight with all of the Horsemen coming out and all of them. Though that segment where Pillman comes in. And then
Benoit and
and
Arn.
Benoit gets like they press slam Pillman onto Benoit, and then Arn slides right in. It's like all done perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. How about best performer of the night?
That's hard.
I think it's Shinjiro Ohtani.
I mean, I always want to pick Ohtani just because I like him so much, but he also has the best match of the night.
Yeah.
So I would gladly give it to him, but I don't think there's any bad
I
performances.
would give it to Eddie, but his interview was bad.
Yeah, I'd give it to Ohtani.
Because I mean, yeah, nobody has a bad outing. Everybody is doing good work.
Yeah. I mean, everyone does their job well here. That's the thing. How about most surprising?
Dusty on the mic, I wasn't expecting, even though I know it was.
I guess we should go back to most.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. I know.
Just kidding.
So there's some of the losses, like the Chono loss.
I mean, we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
like
they definitely could have made a
The audience.
better decision. I mean, the audience.
I don't even know.
The
if
thing
that's
is,
surprising.
it doesn't surprise me.
It's just a little disappointing.
That is disappointing to me.
Just because WCW didn't put in the work.
Yeah, and I blame
They
WCW
didn't
more than
put
I
in
do
the
the
work, but
fans.
neither did their fans.
Yeah.
You don't know the guy? Oh well, but watch the damn match. Is it interesting? Cool. Cheer.
So
Make noise.
also, something that was very surprising was after the broadcast, they held a dark match. And it was Kensuke Sasaki versus One Man Gang for the United States Heavyweight Championship.
One Man Gang won the United States belt, and I didn't know
Well,
that.
they weren't sure if Sasaki was going to stay in America, basically. And originally, the match, it was filmed and everything, formed a show. At the end of the match, one-man gang would land a splash on Sasaki and cover him for the pin. But Sasaki would kick out, even though the ref would make a 3 count.
Oh.
After the bell, he celebrates, but then another official runs down, points out the mistake, and the match was restarted. And this time, Kensuke pins Gang to retain the title. But basically, so they had the footage of both. So if whichever would happen, I'm here to tell you, Kensuke Sasaki does not stay. So one-man gang is your new United States Heavyweight Champion.
Hilarious. God, one-man gang.
And new?
Right?
And sure.
Wow. I mean, way to hang in there, one-man gang. I mean, you went from one-man gang to Akeem to nothing and back to one-man gang and finally earned yourself a title.
Yeah. It's one-man gang.
Did not know that was in the history of the United States Championship.
OMG.
And now for a look back even further into the history of wrestling.
The dusty finish.
Jimmy Snuka had held the ECW Championship for a couple of months when his former rival, Don Morocco, would make his way to Philadelphia to face him on September 30th, 1992. Don Morocco, born 1949, grew up in Hawaii, becoming a state amateur wrestling champion. He would learn the ropes all along the West Coast when he would get his first big break, the AWA. In 1974, Morocco would face the NWA World Champion Jack Briscoe, reversing his finishing move, making Don a new star in the eyes of the fans. After working through the territories, Morocco would debut in the WWF in 1981, capturing the Intercontinental Championship within months. A couple of years later, he would be in what would be his most famous match, when Snuka would leap off the top of a cage in Madison Square Garden onto Don. In his time in WWF, Morocco would win the first King of the Ring tournament, have feuds with Ricky Steamboat and Bob Orton, before saving superstar Billy Graham, adopting his tie-dye attire, and becoming The Rock. After leaving WWF, Don would make his way around the world again, when ECW would make the call in 1992. For his accomplishments, Morocco has been inducted into the Professional Wrestling and WWE Hall of Fames. After becoming the 4th ECW champion, Don's next challenger would be a surfer who hadn't quite found himself yet.
Exit light.
Next week, Holiday Hell, 1995.
Holidays just don't quit, do they?
ECW's Holiday in Hell, but where is it, Matt?
It's gotta be Pennsylvania, probably.
It's Queens, New York.
Hey.
They're making a trip outside the arena.
They're on the road. The last time they were on the road, we went to Florida. So,
That's right.
yeah, I mean, you know, it's a nice little trip for the boys.
Queens.
Music from this week's show is Gravel Sandwich by First Com Music. And Ric Flair won our main event. So we play Spach Zarathustra by Strauss. If you like this episode or any of our other ones, please go out there and rate and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you find your podcasts at. If you have any questions, comments, concerns,
Recipes, drink ideas. Just want to say hey.
email us at wrestlinghistoryx@gmail.com or find us on Twitter at WrestlingHistoX. That's Wrestling HISTOX. We'll talk to you next week.